What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man, and I have an awesome guest with me today, Mathew Martinez, on the podcast. So, what's up, Matthew?
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? How
Man,
are you doing?
good man, good man. Just
Cool. So let's give the listeners just a little intro in terms of how we met. How we got together and how we're up here now is we've known each other through BNI, right? So I've talked about in on the podcast, and it's just like mine. It's just people, man. Like the way I broke it down is just a micro society within a micro society. It's a group of people that are getting together to just the ultimate goal is to share business, right? To share referrals back and forth to make money in terms of this game that we're playing. But ultimately, it's the relationships you start building around you, with the people that are in there that then help grow that. And so that's how we met. And then tell me how you know the kiddos too, right? You wouldn't have to say, well, I guess you can say names. You do whatever you want. But you know some of our kiddos, right? In terms of how it was.
yeah. So, well, me and Wilson met in BNI, but it's funny that his kids as well. I went to school with them too,
Yeah,
so it's
crazy,
just funny
crazy.
how that went out. Like Wilson is a bit older than me, but I'm still, I come in BNI and I see other people my age as well, and I see people I know as well. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and
Yeah.
his kid, me, we were friends, and dang, when was it? It was middle school.
Yes, you're
Middle
right.
school.
Let's go first. Yeah, and I remember so when you came up and you met Patty as well and all that stuff, which is great. So that's how we
Hmm.
we were interconnected, which is cool. And then so how did you get into BNI, and then what brought you there to BNI specifically?
Well, so I took this job as a project manager for this fencing company, and it slowly progressed into me making sales as well. And now I'm making the sales and I'm running the projects, and I brought him to the attention. So we know this other guy named Nick Martin as
Mm.
well in the group. I shouldn't have said his last name, but Nick, and he was like, join BNI, join BNI. So I told my bosses, and I'm like, all right, go ahead, but you're the one gonna do it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So now I'm here. It's gone pretty good. Only been a couple months, so it's doing pretty well. Pretty
Yeah,
well.
dude.
Being on.
Yeah, you're definitely an awesome member, or definitely, a good citizen, I would say, of our group. You come in, you definitely have some cool energy, and people appreciate the fact. I know age is just a number, right? In terms of like how, whether wise or conscious or where we are, but you definitely have that. When we first met, you showed a level of like awareness and consciousness that most people around that demographic or age you don't get it till later. So it was good, and then we met, and then we had our 1-to-1. We shared some stories, and then we're like, dude, we got to do a podcast on the things that you've gone through, right, in terms of all your influence, thought, like emotions, actions, decisions, where you arrived, and then it's great that we started off where you are now, because now we can go into, you tell us, like, so tell us before that, or start us with whatever you'd like to share, because your story is definitely a great one to share, and I'm sure there's people that are either going through some sort of parallel or something like that, and maybe can relate, which would be awesome. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to. From the start. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. Yeah, let's.
Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear
Yeah.
you.
So from the start, I
Yeah.
mean, okay. Yeah, so from the start, I mean, so yeah, I'm doing pretty well now, but it wasn't always like this. In high school, well, first of all, before I go into it, like, I know a lot of people my age and in between the ages of like 20 and 30 struggle with this a lot as well, right? And people don't get the help they need until they get older, right? And that's a struggle. That's something that that I still struggle with now, right? So I'll get into a little bit more. Like around halfway into high school, I start dabbling with the wrong people, and I also, start partying a little bit more. Right, start smoking a little bit of that of some stuff, and I just start, doing what the older kids do, right? And then like it's crazy because beginning of high school and middle school, like everything was going so well. I was on all these honors classes. I was, I was about doing role. I was in all these clubs, playing all these sports, and gradually through high school, I started, dabbling in all these things and doing them quite often. And then a lot of the stuff I used to do that I enjoyed that would help me for my future as well, I stopped doing. And like all these clubs, and I quit sports, and I stopped taking all these classes, and I was just barely I wasn't even going to school really at the end of my senior year, and all I was doing was just smoking and drinking and doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Somehow I graduated and I went to college up in Gainesville. And that's when things really got to a point. When I was in high school and the normal stuff, arguing with parents. And by the way, like, a lot of people say that the household is what led me to the things that I've done today, and a lot of things. I had an amazing household, and my mom did everything she could to provide for me. My grandma was there in the picture. Never had a father, but that didn't really affect me that much. So yeah, like I had a great household. Um, it was just me, right? And I go to college.
Wait, can I ask you a question? So
Yep.
in terms of your household saying that, like you didn't have a father, like you just didn't have a bio dad like that was nearby, like he was not in the picture. Is it like what
Yeah.
was
So when my father was never in the picture, right? He
like
wasn't
he
even
just
there the day I was
bounced?
born.
Yeah, right.
He was just bound. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just me, my mother, and my grandmother.
And so if I
I
were to
used to live
ask
in
you like
Jersey.
yeah. Yeah, and if I were to ask you like is there and I know the thought or the feeling is like that stuff doesn't really bother you, but of course like were there times where you're like, man, I wish I had a fucking dad, like, or I wish I had somebody like when you were young, right? Because like it's somewhat similar to me, like
Of
and
course.
yeah, in terms of
Yeah.
my bio dad until I met pops, who was my dad, like, but so yeah, were there moments like that growing up when you felt that way and do you remember one specifically or something like that? Yeah, growing up. Yeah, so like was there a moment that you remember or anything like that like growing up, or do you think that it all has like potentially affected like in those moments when you were doing things like drinking and smoking and all that shit kind of get like to the excess, right? Because like everyone does that shit like to a certain extent. There's like a level of excess, and then from there I think a level. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah. It's like cutting in and out.
Cutting in and out, huh? Yeah, I wonder why. All right, that's all right. We'll still keep rolling, man. This is the raw shit.
Yeah.
Right? So like, do you think some of that, or have you thought about it, or like, has it at all like, been something where you think it's like, um, that could have been part of your emotional way of dealing with certain things later on, and then the alcohol and the drugs, and then being involved with friends that like made you feel good or kind of forget. Like, have you ever thought of that, or is that something that you've thought about before?
It was definitely something. So I'll tell you this: like when I was younger, it was definitely a little bit of a struggle, right? Like it was a struggle in the sense that it was a struggle, and then I really overcome it at a young age because I started being really really independent because my mom was working very late every time, and my grandma was an in-home nurse, so it was just really me at the house at a young
Yeah.
age. So I learned how to cook, I learned how to clean, I learned how to do all the stuff, and that really like matured me a lot at a
Yeah, of
young
course.
age,
Of course.
right? And so that
How
wasn't
how
really
old were you? Like
like
eight,
the father.
nine?
Oh, dude, I was probably around 8, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when all that started happening, when I started trying to mature up, because that was around like fourth grade. Yeah,
You just
yeah,
had to do it. Yeah, you
and
had to do it. Yeah.
I just had to do it, right? And like, but the thing that I also be always like, with the kids around the block in Jersey, and I would always be like hanging out with everyone else, and get home right before my mom got home, so she didn't know, you know. But like that never really it didn't really affect me at a young age. I used it more as an excuse, right? Like whenever I get in trouble, like I tell my mom, well, if I had a dad, and I look back at it now and like it's such a terrible thing to do, right? Because she did so much for me,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
sort of. Yeah,
And like
it's just I think it's the vocabulary used, right? Because it is a feeling, and it is something that like would push us because I can relate to it, right? I've had something similar, so I understand that. But looking back at it now, you're like, man, I didn't have to I didn't have to say it that way. Like mom probably felt bad. It's like fuck, I could have done better, taking more responsibility. But yeah, it's all good, dude. It's part of that process, that growth, which is good. So yeah. So that's good, man. And then so from there, yeah, take us through it. So, grew up. It was just you, abuelita, and mom, and just sort of chilling, doing your damn thing, having to like become a little more mature. And then and that's what I'm saying. I think mom and abuelita always had a good influence, right? Like good student, good kid, you're the man. Let's get it. And
Mhm.
then. So how did that lead into
Well, yeah,
high school and you
but
were going?
yeah, so like my mother and my grandmother, they're immigrants, right? So they came here. I was the only born here, right? So they're strict. Like I gotta go to college. I gotta do the things to
Yeah.
succeed. I gotta show my cousins like this is how it is, right? So and yeah, so I get so all that happens in high school, middle school, all that happens, and I get to college, right? And like this is like the first time ever where like I have no one to tell me what to do, right? Like I get to college and I'm like I'm at a distance where like I'm far
Yeah.
enough where my mom can't come and check up on me consistently, but I can also like come back for like a
Yeah.
weekend,
Hi, mommy, no.
and like
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah. So like I get there and I'm like starting off strong. Like I tell myself like this is gonna be, I want to do this, right? I'm gonna do this for myself, I'm gonna do this for my mom, and like and then I go out a little bit with some friends I know already over there, and I was like, oh, this is nice, this is nice. Um, and then what really kicks it off is I joined a fraternity, right? I
Uh,
joined a fraternity, and like that's like that really get off, man. The
yeah.
fraternity was something else. I loved it. The guys are there. I still
Yeah, your
are in
homies. What
contact
what
with
fraternity were you part
to
of?
this day. So I was part of Pi Kappa Alpha.
Okay, Alpha. Okay. I was part of ZBT,
Yeah,
Zeta
yeah.
Beta
So
Tau.
yeah, I was
Yeah, dude, you
part of
you
Pi,
have
but
very parallel stories, man. We have some
I
similarities, which is funny.
yeah, man. Yeah. So I go through the rush process, and I go through it, and I get initiated, and that's when the real stuff started happening, right? Like now, like I got the respect. Now I got the people, not having to tell me what to do. Now, like I could go, right? So like now, like and like my fraternity like ran like this group of bars that are in Midtown in Gainesville. Like, dude, like it was nonstop for me, right? Like after I got initiated into the fraternity, like I had the access to it like on a daily basis, right? I would be able to go into the bars every day for free. I would drink for very, very cheap. I knew all the bartenders. I was there like almost I was there every day, right? So they knew me. So they're like, yeah, you could go in. You could get this for cheap, this, and that. So it became a daily thing, right? And then slowly I stopped going to classes my first semester, right? And I started dabbling in some more heavier things, right? I started doing some heavier substances, right? And that definitely took a control on me, all right? And then probably by the end of the first semester of college, I didn't go to one single class. I was going out every single day. Uh, I like I was I was sleeping at the fraternity house every night, even though I had a nice apartment, right, that my mom paid for.
Yeah.
Um,
Damn.
and yeah, I was just like every single night. It was a daily thing. It was a daily thing, right? And then so
Well, would you talk to your mom? Like, did you
I
have
remember
conversations with your mom during that time? Or like what was that like?
yeah, like I had conversation with my mom. She would ask me like, "How's the grades going? How's this? How's this?" I lied to her, right?
Yeah.
I completely lied to her because I was scared.
Is that like on a
That was the truth. I
weekly?
was scared about. Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like I the phone would ring and I'd look at it and I'd be scared to pick up sometimes, right? But I knew sometimes I had to pick up as well. And I lied to her and she knew something was up. She knew something was up.
Yeah.
So I came back. I remember I came back during the break between the first and second semester, and she immediately knew something was off, right? I was like 25 pounds skinnier.
Yeah, you look like
I told
shit.
her I was going to the gym. Did not hit the gym one time,
Yeah.
right?
She's like, you
Um,
look like shit. What is going on?
um,
The fuck are
uh,
you doing, man?
yeah, yeah. And I was like, no, I'm just hitting the gym. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing good, man. I really am. And and like she was like, well, let me see your grades. Let me see. I was like, oh, they're going good. I just need to do some of this, that. College is hard. I was just bullshitting all my way through everything. It was like a consistent pattern of lying, right?
Yeah.
I was putting myself in a deeper, deeper hole. And I go back second semester, and then it was
Wait,
that
so
second
can I ask you?
semester.
Well, let
I
me
didn't
ask
even
one
go to
more
my
question.
first class. You know,
Yeah. Well,
no,
why? I've been there
go
too.
ahead.
But why not just tell her in those moments? Like, and obviously now it's more clear because we're a little more mature and conscious of like these things. But back then, like if you can put yourself back in that position, why were you a little nervous or scared? And then why did you think like just keep lying was the right way to do it in terms of decision making?
So that's funny that you asked because like today, like it's so logical for
Yeah.
me to be like, if I'm struggling and they're telling me like what's going on to help, like why not be honest and tell them what's going on so I could receive help, right? And I feel like at the time, um, I was just so scared of it, that like if I told her the truth and what was happening, like this whole like party I was having for like months and months, almost a year, was gonna end, right?
Mm.
And like I didn't want it to
Your
because it was
freedom.
the best time of my life. I felt like I felt yeah, I felt free. I felt no control from anyone. I felt like I ran everything, right?
Yeah.
And
Was mom
and
somewhat
that's a
strict
key
growing
thing.
up?
Like I ran. Yeah, she was very strict. You know, she was always very strict, but she, going into my junior senior year, like she was less strict, right? Because she knew that like she I wanted to live a little bit of life because I was always at the house. She never let me go out. She never let me do anything really that much,
Right. Or if you did, you
which
had to
is
be home
good. It's
by
probably
like
what I needed. It's
9.
probably what kept me safe
Right.
earlier. Um, yeah, sometimes she wouldn't even let me go out,
Yeah, you ain't
right?
going
And I
nowhere,
would just hang
nothing.
out with
No. But
her,
mom, it's the
and
weekend. Let me go like
but
everybody
yeah,
else. You know, she's like, no,
nothing, nothing,
nada.
nothing.
Yeah,
And
dude.
I
So I
look
feel
back
like
and
part, yeah, I
yeah,
feel
I
like
look
part
back
of
at
it
it and
is,
I'm like, wow,
yeah.
like she probably saved me from a lot of.
Yeah, of course, of course, and I feel like part of it too is again like so when we break this, then nothing changes until you do stuff, and we've talked about it, right? So influence, right? The influence helps create thoughts. These thoughts then drive an emotion, and these emotions then drive the action or the inaction, the not doing some, not making the decision, and that brings us to the next outcome. And so I feel like part of like your story or our story because it's very similar. It's like anyone who's dealt with certain similarities like some type of immigrant parents like this year, right? Like because there's been immigrants like Italians and Irish people and all that stuff, but in terms of this demographic, right, there's similarities in terms of like the influence of how they were brought up and how they were brought up and then like how that transfers into how we were brought up, being here, like being there and then being here. And so there's definitely lots of similarities that because the whole college thing when I left very similar. I was almost like 3 hours away, which was far enough to be far enough but close enough to if we need to if we need to come back, you know what I mean. So very similar. And once I got there, I was like it was like same thing for me. High school I started drinking more. I started like I junior years when I first started smoking weed, and I was like because my mom was she was super strict. I couldn't come home. A couple of times she smacked me across the face because I smelled like liquor. She was like, "You've been fucking drinking," bye bye bye, and you up to bed. But like so that's where my bullshit started, that too. And so for me, there was a lot of where so between like growing up that way, right? Growing up that way, always having some fucking shit with my mom because like she was super strict or like angry. And then slowly getting like when I started maturing, started getting bigger too, I would go to the gym, crush it. And then there was a moment where like I flipped out. I was like, you don't fucking hit me anymore. Da, 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 and that was like into high school, going into college. And then once I went to college, like I really didn't come back home until unless it was like holidays and shit like that because I was like I don't want to fucking deal with that shit. Like I don't want to be in that moment or be dealing with that. And I too also did a lot of like I didn't go, the only thing that I didn't do is I didn't cross over into like the hard shit, like crazy hard stuff. Like I drank a lot, I smoked a lot, but I would drink and I would also get like everything that I had growing up in the past. Some of that shit would just boil up and I would become this like super crazy human monster that nobody wanted to deal with. And like I ruined some people's lives like during college in certain aspects, because of the way that I was due to all the shit that now when I'm looking at it, kind of like where you're at, which, I would say you're far above and ahead of the game because like you can see it. And how old are you now?
20,
How old are you? 20? God damn, that's what I'm saying. At 20 years old, you
20.
have this like, ahead of schedule level of awareness because of I guess all the things that you've gone through. Oh man, this sucks that you're cutting. I hope the audio catches it. If the audio doesn't catch it, dude, we're gonna have to memorize everything we said because this is this is a great one. Um, but okay, so here, let's do this.
Yeah,
Matthew, let's
it's
do this.
I can
Let's
hear
cut.
you in like very
You can help, yeah, hear me in spots. All right, so let me do this. I'm gonna cut it off right now. So let's end this. I'm gonna restart. We'll shoot another episode, but we'll take it from here and we'll give everybody a recap. Okay. And we'll just do another like 20, 30 minutes. Does that work? Delay.
Sure. Yeah, no matter.
Okay, cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for
To me.
listening. This is part one. I hope it didn't cut off, but if it did, then we're gonna shoot another one. We'll give you a recap anyway. And if it didn't, hope you enjoyed this. Stick to part one, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Right, Matthew? Delay. All right, peace. Let's see.
Hello.